Hello, Cancer. This is your personal month forecast for November 2023. We started the month pretty strong with Sun, Mars, and Mercury all in Scorpio. So, as you probably know, Scorpio is a sister sign to Cancer, it's a fellow water sign. Scorpio and Cancer have a lot in common. So, when you have this kind of abundance of Scorpio energy, this is something that, the more Cancer placements you have, the more easily you're going to adapt to this kind of abundance of, Scorpio energy. Scorpio is your fifth house, so having Sun, Mars, and Mercury all in your fifth house at the start of the month, it just means that you are extra creative at this time. Your childlike, kind of playful energies having to do with self-expression and creativity, all of that is kind of boosted. That's generally the focus for the beginning of the month, and this is one of the easier places to have those planets in, right? Because that is one of the easier themes to deal with: creativity, having fun, getting in your flow, and expressing yourself through that creativity, having fun in the process. All of that, it's definitely one of the more fun themes to experience, and so definitely a great start, really strong start to the month for you. And I also just want to generally say one more time that Sun, Mars, and Mercury in Scorpio, they're all forming trines to whatever placements you have in Cancer. So those trines are really strong, harmonious aspects. They are empowering you. You're basically in your element as we start out this month. You may be extra emotional at the beginning of the month, but that's not entirely a bad thing, right? That's what partially allows for that creativity and all that good stuff as well. Okay, so definitely a strong start to the month for you. I did want to give you some key dates for this month. So the first one is November 4th. That is the day that Saturn will turn direct at 0 degrees Pisces. So Pisces is another fellow water sign, right? So in other words, Saturn is kind of loosely trining Cancer from 0 degrees Pisces. And the way I've been describing this is, first let's talk about what a planet is like when it's retrograde, and then we'll talk about what it means when a planet comes out of retrograde and moves direct, like Saturn is now. So when a planet is retrograde, its energies still affect us, of course, but its energies affect us in a more kind of nuanced way, more spiritual, kind of indirect, subconscious. Their energies are kind of offline. They affect us, but in ways that are a bit more convoluted. So basically, that's the energy that Saturn has had. Saturn's energies have been somewhat offline since it has been retrograde. Now Saturn is turning direct, so it's coming out of retrograde. So that basically means that its energies are becoming more literal, more direct, more in your face. They're affecting us in a more visceral kind of way, right? So what does this mean? So Pisces is your ninth house, right? And for one, Pisces, like I said, it forms a major aspect with Cancer. So this is something you're definitely going to feel. You're going to feel a general increase of heavy energy. Yes, Saturn does have a bad rap. It is a malefic. It is kind of troublesome, challenging to deal with. It could bring about increased pressure, increased responsibility. The plus side though is that this is pushing you to become wiser. As long as you're being mature and owning yourself, owning your life, being wise and all that good stuff, and managing your resources appropriately, Saturn will actually reward you. So in other words, this could actually bring about some much needed structure and discipline if you've been needing those things going after November 4th. But on the other side, again, it could also be a little bit heavier than maybe what you've been wanting. Specifically, since this is in the ninth house, this is pushing you to become really concrete with what do you believe in. Are your belief systems working for you? What is your relationship with the church, the university, spirituality, religion, science? Wherever you go to, ponder the bigger questions of life, I think for most of us, it's some kind of combination of those, right? But whatever it is for you, you may be asked to be a bit more responsible or mature in those areas. Let's get real with these beliefs. Do these beliefs work? Things like that. You may be pondering these larger questions in a more concrete and realistic type of way going after November 4th, all right? Okay, and then the next key date is November 8th. This is the day where Venus will leave Virgo and enter Libra. So for the past several weeks, Venus has been in Virgo, so that's your third house. So Venus has been bringing that abundance and pleasure and desire to your communications, your short distance travel, your kind of neighborly connections, acquaintances, siblings, things like that. Now it's definitely, making a shift, right? With Venus entering Libra, this is your fourth house. So this is showing that for the next several weeks, your desires and your pleasure are going to be a little bit more oriented toward home, family, and whatever is already familiar to you, basically. So those familiar pastimes, familiar settings. It doesn't strictly have to be home related. It usually is, but it could be, anything that's familiar to you, those comfort foods, whatever it is, that's what you're going to be more drawn to with Venus in Libra. And to some extent, you're generally like that, right? That's what Cancer is known for craving those familiar things. So this is basically taking a trait that's likely already strong in you to some extent and expanding it even further. Okay, so this in itself is not really a good or bad thing. It basically just means you're getting more pleasure from those familiar situations and settings. Choosing maybe to stay home a little bit more, for these next few weeks. That's what you may be drawn toward. And just appreciating those simple kind of familiar things, really. Okay, next date is November 10th. So only a couple days later, first we had Venus change signs on November 8th. Now Mercury is changing signs on November 10th. And this is going to be part of a pattern that we will see. Like I said, we started out the month with Mercury, Mars, and Sun in Scorpio. And you'll see one by one, each of them will leave Scorpio and enter Sagittarius. So that's what Mercury is doing on November 10th. Mercury's leaving Scorpio and entering Sagittarius. So unfortunately, all those playful themes of fun and creativity, of course you can still continue that. I'm not saying you can't. The focus is starting to change a little bit though, So with Mercury entering Sagittarius, this is your 6th house. 6th house, I always describe, it's not the most exciting place to have planets transiting through, but it is definitely useful and necessary. 6th house kind of represents the maintenance of life. So having Mercury entering your 6th house of Sagittarius, that indicates you may be a little bit more focused on your diet, your lifestyle, not just diet, lifestyle, exercise, but also like financially, are you being thrifty and, spending your money wisely? Again, it's definitely not the sexiest like energy to deal with, but useful. With Mercury transiting this area, you're thinking about these things, you're learning, you're open to improvement in these areas. So if you've been putting off some kind of lifestyle change or improvement that you've been intending to make, going forward after November 10th, this would be a great time where you may just be naturally more drawn to these areas, learning more. You could also be more busy with these types of things. Mercury tends to connotate a certain sense of busyness, as well as learning, communicating, talking, etc. So in other words, when it comes to lifestyle changes, budgeting, nutrition, exercise, etc., all of that you're going to be learning about, thinking about, communicating about a little bit more open to those areas, more motivated, but also maybe just generally more busy with those things as well after November 10th. Moving right along to November 13th, there will be a new moon in Scorpio at 20 degrees. So this is actually the chart for that new moon. You can see there at the kind of bottom left of the chart. And again, this is highlighting Scorpio. So this is good for you. This is easy. Scorpio. It's a similar enough energy that it's going to be easy for you to embrace, right? So having a new moon there, for one, it just shows a lot of scorpionic energy, right? A lot of that really heavy emotional energy, intense energy. And again, you are not Scorpio. Maybe you have placements there, maybe you don't. But coming at it from a Cancerian kind of perspective, it's a similar enough vibe. It's a similar enough energy. You're in your element for this new moon, basically. More specifically, a new moon, just like it sounds like, it's a new beginning. I always say, though, it's not really like a new beginning in the sense of like you're taking action or doing something dramatic. It's not a dramatic new beginning. This is the time where you plant the seed, So it's a really great time for, reevaluating your intentions and kind of thinking, where do I want to go from here over the next several weeks or maybe farther. Specifically, again, this is in your 5th house, so specifically having to do with creativity. How are you expressing yourself? How are you expressing your pride and your identity? Are you a creative person? Is there anything that you want to change about your creativity or, maybe start some kind of creative project? These are the things that I would suggest maybe asking yourself on and around this new moon of November 13th, because this is a really great time for coming up with intentions and, not necessarily launching some kind of huge creative project necessarily, but maybe this is more the time of kind of setting up those blueprints, thinking, how can I unlock more of my creative energy? You Cancers, you are very passionate. You are, potentially very creative. So how can you unlock more of that or enjoy more of that or, whatever it is you want to do? What are your intentions with that creativity, self-expression? And it could apply to children as well. Are children part of your life? Is there any kind of new way you want to change that, relationship, or change how that part of your life works, things like that. That's something to think about on this new moon. Okay, next one. Excuse me. We're going to jump forward a little bit to Wednesday, November 22nd. This is the day where Sun leaves Scorpio and enters Sagittarius. So again, first Mercury left Scorpio and entered Sagittarius. Now the Sun is as well. So gradually, more and more so as we get through the month here, the focus is shifting from Scorpio to Sagittarius. It's shifting from your 5th house to your 6th house. So again, you can still be creative, you can still have fun, but the focus is increasingly becoming on, getting a little bit serious, maybe revisiting certain aspects of your lifestyle. With Sun there, that is where the energy is. That's where the motivation is, the pride, maybe to some extent, right? That's where the general just focus is. Sun shines a spotlight on wherever it is. So it's in your 6th house. How's your health? How's your mental health? How's your emotional health? I feel almost cringy even bringing that up because I know that's not always the most fun stuff to talk about, but you're interested in astrology. You clearly have some, interest in self-improvement. So these are the things that, will naturally kind of come up for you. Can you improve your health in some kind of way, or improve your budgeting maybe to some extent, etc.? That's the focus increasingly throughout the month, but especially after Wednesday the 22nd, because Sun enters Sagittarius. Okay, let's jump forward a couple days to Friday, November 24th. This is the day where Mars finally leaves Scorpio and joins Mercury and the Sun in Sagittarius. So again, it's just showing even more of a focus, another planet in your 6th house. More, in this case, Mars is having to do with, motivation, drive, ambition. So this is really great. If you've been lacking some kind of ambition with maybe a certain part of your lifestyle that you've been kind of wanting to change but haven't had the actual motivation or energy to make that change, after November 24th, this is definitely the time to do anything related to your lifestyle or diet, nutrition, exercise. What else? Saving money, working more, maybe. Again, these aren't fun things, but these are the things that we have to take care of if we want to have fun, right? So it's a necessary evil, except it's not evil at all, because what better thing to do than take care of your health and your own well-being, right? So anyway, that's generally the focus. That's what you're thinking about, communicating about, learning about with Mercury and Sagittarius. That's where your energy is, the focus is with Sun there, and now the drive, the ambition, what you're desiring is in the same kind of ballpark as well with Mars there too. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about today is Monday, November 27th. There is a full moon happening at 4 degrees Gemini. And this is kind of a weird one for you. Gemini is your 12th house, right? And I always say the full moons are not just about the moon. It's an opposition between the moon and the sun, right? Just like a new moon is a conjunction, a full moon is an opposition, if we want to get technical like that. So basically, the sun is at 4 degrees Sagittarius. It's being opposed by the moon at 4 degrees Gemini. I'll be real with you. The sun and the moon are highlighting a difficult axis for you. This is your 6th, 12th house axis. The full moon is in your 12th house. It's opposing the sun in your 6th house. So this has a lot to do, again, much of it does have to do with, lifestyle, mental health, but it's that connection between mental health and emotional health, between, spirituality and, lifestyle, habits, etc. Full moon in your 12th house. This could also just be an extra weird full moon for you. It's going to bring about, just really weird stuff. Your psychic abilities, you are Cancer, you are psychic, right? Your psychic abilities are going to be kind of flaring up and being extra active. That is really great. You could come across some really powerful intuitive insights. On the other hand, though, is it really real? Intuition, just like any other sense that we have, is not 100% accurate. You could partake in some like escapism or delusion, paranoia, fantasy, right? So just be aware of that. This is one of those tricky things where this could be destabilizing. This full moon could make you feel crazy. You might want to just shut out the world and be alone. But on the other hand, I think the more you just kind of allow this to happen, there does need to be some kind of surrender in it. And the more you partake in activities that are kind of restful, this is a full moon. Yes, it is a full moon, so there's going to be a lot of energy. It's an energy of culmination. Yet at the same time, this is highlighting a part of your chart that's saying you need to rest, you need to integrate, you need to meditate, read, go for a walk, do something, take the boat out. We all have different ways of relaxing our minds, basically. Even something that's very engaging, like, I don't know, some kind of sport, maybe. It may be very physically engaging, but something where you can allow your mind to kind of zone out. That's going to be really key on and around Monday, November 27th, because it's basically a functional way of escapism. It is escapism, but it's also kind of not. These pastimes are what allow you to rest and recalibrate and build your intuition, and that's going to be really key for this full moon. Okay, that's going to be what's necessary to avoid the mental burnout, feeling crazy, etc. Okay, so take care of your health. That's largely what this month is about, specifically the full moon. Take care of yourself, take care of your health. Maybe like slow down a little bit. This full moon, to be honest, it doesn't look, for most signs it looks like a party energy, it looks like a lot of fun, but for you specifically, Cancer, I might want to be extra cautious, or have fun, do whatever you want, but maybe just be cautious. Make sure that you're truly taking care of your health on this day, for sure. Okay, but that's pretty much what I had to say. I'm sorry I keep coughing, but yeah, you can see here from the chart, we end the month dramatically different than what we started with, right? We started with Sun, Mercury, Mars in Scorpio, Venus in Virgo, a lot of yin energy, so that was a really strong time for you. We end the month on a more of a serious note for you, because there's more of a yang influence, which is kind of different from how you are. Sun, Mercury, Mars in Sagittarius with Venus in Libra. So again, honestly, the beginning of the month is more of your time to shine. It's more the strong time for you. The end of the month is more of a rest period, where you're kind of like withdrawing a little bit and taking care of some stuff that needs to be taken care of, if that makes sense. Okay, well, I hope that was interesting. I hope that was helpful. And yeah, have a great month. I'll see you later.